Welcome to our video on the Ashwa Old Coins 1917 UK British 1 penny coin and 1963 Elizabeth 1 penny coin and 1938 British 1 penny coin. Today, we'll explore its history, geography, and numismatic significance. The 1917 UK British 1 penny coin and 1963 Elizabeth 1 penny coin and 1938 British 1 penny coin has undergone several changes in design and composition since it was first minted. Here's a comprehensive history and details of the covering mintage, numismatics, and other important aspects. The period from 1917 to 1963 spans significant geopolitical shifts. 1917, World War I reshaped Europe's borders, with Britain emerging victorious, but economically strained. Coins from this period often show the wear of high production and usage during wartime. 1963, the post-war era brought about economic recovery and modern societal changes. The 1960s was a time of cultural revolution, and the 1963 penny represents the last of the traditional British currency before decimalization transformed the landscape of British money in 1971. 1938. The world was on the edge of World War II. The penny of this year reflects a Britain preparing for conflict. The simplicity and durability of these coins are testaments to their importance as a reliable form of small change in daily transactions. 1917 British 1 penny coin. The 1917 British penny was minted during the reign of King George V, 1910 to 1936. The coin's obverse features the left-facing portrait of King George V, wearing a crown and dressed in royal attire. The reverse side of the coin depicts Britannia, the traditional female personification of Britain, seated with a trident in her hand, symbolizing the UK's maritime power. Issued during the reign of King George V. Metal, bronze. Mintage, 135,713,935. Designer, Bertram McKennell. Numismatic value, common, but valuable in high grades or with errors. Historical significance, World War I era coinage. Monarch, George V, 1910 to 1936. Metal composition, bronze, 95% copper, 4% tin, 1% zinc. Weight, 9.45 grams. Diameter, 30.81 millimeters. Mint, Royal Mint, London. Obverse. The coin features the portrait of King George V, facing left, with the inscription George's V-Day Gra, Brit Omn Rex Fid Def Ind Imp, meaning George V, by the grace of God, King of all Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. Reverse. The reverse depicts Britannia, the traditional personification of Britain, seated holding a trident and shield, with the denomination 1 penny and the year 1917 below. Mintage, approximately 107 million. Historical context. The 1917 penny was minted during World War I, and due to the demands of the war, penny production continued in high numbers. This era saw the British Empire at its height, though the war significantly impacted Britain economically and socially. Geographical influence. This penny would have circulated across the British Empire, which spanned vast territories, including parts of Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The empire's global reach ensured that coins like this penny were symbols of British authority and economic influence far beyond the island nation itself. 1963 British 1 penny coin. This penny was minted during the reign of Queen Elizabeth. The obverse of the coin features the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth, who had ascended the throne in 1952. By 1963, her image on coins was already familiar throughout the UK and the Commonwealth. The reverse design, however, still featured Britannia, marking a continuation of the traditional motif. Monarch, Elizabeth II, 1952, present. Metal composition, bronze, 95% copper, 4% tin, 1% zinc. Weight, 9.45 grams. Diameter, 30.81 millimeters. Mint, Royal Mint, London. Elizabeth II. Metal, bronze. Diameter, 31 millimeters. Weight, 9.4 g. Last year of bronze pennies. Mintage, 434,720,000. Designer, Cecil Thomas. Numismatic value, common, but valuable in high grades or with errors. Historical significance, last year of bronze pennies before switching to copper-plated steel in 1968. Obverse, the 1963 penny features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right, with the inscription Elizabeth II Dei Gratia, Regina F., meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. Reverse, Britannia is still seated, holding a trident in her right hand and a shield in her left. The denomination 1 penny and the year 1963 are at the bottom of the coin. Mintage, 120,768,000. Historical context. By 1963, the British Empire had largely transformed into the Commonwealth. The post-war era saw significant changes in the economy and society, with the advent of the space age and cultural shifts. Decimalization was still a few years away, but change was in the air. Minting and geography information. Mint location. All 3 coins were minted at the Royal Mint in London. The Royal Mint has been the primary institution for coin production in the UK for over a millennium. The minting process in the early 20th century relied on manual labor and mechanical presses, which evolved into more advanced technologies by the mid-20th century. Bronze composition. The material composition remained consistent across these coins. The copper tin zinc alloy used for these pennies gave the coins their distinct reddish-brown color. Over time, environmental exposure causes the coins to develop a patina, altering their color to a more greenish or dark brown hue. Design continuity. The use of Britannia on the reverse side of the penny links back to Roman times, symbolizing Britain's connection to its imperial and maritime history. The portrait of the reigning monarch on the obverse side has always been a hallmark of British coinage, illustrating the continuity of the monarchy. Significance in numismatics. These 3 coins are part of a larger tradition of British penny coinage that stretches back centuries. Numismatically, they are significant due to their representation of different monarchs and the periods they come from. 1938 British 1 penny coin. The 1938 penny was issued during the reign of King George VI, 1936 to 1952. Like the 1917 penny, the reverse features Britannia. The obverse shows a right-facing portrait of George VI, without the crown. Historical context. In 1938, Britain was on the brink of the Second World War, which would begin in 1939. The penny, during this period, was used extensively as Britain rearmed and prepared for another conflict with Nazi Germany. Economically, the UK was emerging from the effects of the Great Depression, which had deeply impacted global economies throughout the 1930s. Monarch, George VI, 1936 to 1952. Metal composition. Bronze, 95% copper, 4% tin, 1% zinc. Weight, 9.45 grams. Diameter, 30.81 millimeters. Mint, Royal Mint, London. Obverse. The coin bears a portrait of King George VI, facing left. The inscription reads, George Iv 6D, G, BR, F laughing face, IND. Meaning George VI, by the grace of God, King of all Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. Reverse. Britannia remains the central figure, seated holding a trident and shield. The year 1938 is at the bottom, and 1 penny is written across the coin. Mintage, 121,249,600. By this time, the British Empire was at its height in terms of territorial extent, but the winds of change were beginning to blow, with independence movements starting to gain momentum in colonies such as India and Africa. The British penny would have traveled widely across the empire's trade routes, symbolizing the centralized power of the UK over its far-flung dominions. 1938 penny. This coin is part of the George VI reign, and collectors seek out specific varieties, such as proof versions or error coins. It's particularly interesting for those studying pre-World War II British numismatics. 1963 penny. These coins were among the last of the pre-decimal pennies before the UK adopted the decimal system in 1971. Therefore, they hold significance for collectors focusing on transitional periods in British currency history. Historical context: the 1960s marked a period of significant social and cultural change in the UK, with the post-war period giving rise to new industries and technologies. This penny reflects the modernization of Britain following the aftermath of World War II and the dismantling of much of its empire. By the 1960s, many former colonies, including India, Ghana, and Kenya, had gained independence. Geographical influence: though the British Empire was shrinking, the British penny was still widely recognized across the Commonwealth of Nations. The coin remained a symbol of continuity in British life, even as the country's global role was shifting. By 1963, Britain's financial and political influence had become more Europe-focused, eventually leading to the UK's later entry into the European. 1917 1 penny coin. Metal, bronze. Diameter, 31 millimeters. Weight, 9.4 g. Mintage, 135,713,935. 1938 1 penny coin. Metal, bronze. Diameter, 31 millimeters. Weight, 9.4 g. Mintage, 121,124,000. 1963 1 penny coin. Metal, bronze. Diameter, 31 millimeters. Weight, 9.4 g. Mintage, 434,720,000. Economic Community, EEC, in the 1970s. Conclusion: each of these coins tells a unique story about the time they were minted. The 1917 penny reminds us of the hardship of World War I, the 1938 penny evokes the prelude to World War II, and the 1963 penny marks the end of an era in British currency, before the onset of decimalization. For numismatists, these coins serve as historical touchstones to Britain's rich past. From 1917 to 1963, the British penny saw the transition from a global empire to a more domestically focused nation. Despite these shifts, the imagery on the penny, particularly the enduring image of Britannia, represented a link to the past, a testament to Britain's maritime legacy, and a symbol of its economic and political reach over centuries. Each coin, though minted in different eras, holds the story of a nation undergoing immense changes, both at home and across the world. Showcase rare or commemorative British coins. Discuss coin grading and certification. Interview a British numismatist or coin collector. Explore British coinage history and its cultural significance. Thank you for joining this exploration of the Elizabeth II 1 penny coin 196 and 1917 UK British coin and 1938 UK British 1 penny coin. We hope this insight into its history and geography has been both informative and enga.